Hey everyone, welcome to Daily Revelations. So today I took a tour through the end of Hezekiah, King Hezekiah's life, from the perspective of Isaiah. So Isaiah is a book of many things. He has prophecy, he has end times, he has all this stuff mixed in there. But in chapters 36 through 39, he takes a break because during his lifetime, King Hezekiah is ruling over Judah. And there's some things that happen that intertwine Isaiah's prophecy and him speaking to the people of Judah with what is going on in history. We see that all the time. People, we just integrate it ourselves. A lot of times when we read the Bible, we don't integrate what God is speaking to certain people to what's going on in our government and other things that are going on. But so this gives us this snapshot of what was going on both in history and as God was working as we read this. So a summary of Isaiah 36 through 39 is King Hezekiah is in the middle of his reign. He reigned for 29 years, 14 years in, pretty close. And the king of Assyria is coming and he's saying, I'm going to destroy you. Stop telling your people to trust in God. Your God is worthless. All the gods and all the other places I conquered, they didn't stand up against me, and so yours isn't going to either. And he gave this big speech to all his people, and Hezekiah had told his people, stay silent. Don't listen to this guy. Don't respond to him even. And he held strong as a leader. He held strong in going before God, pleading for their case. And in the end, God destroyed the other army without them having to lift a finger. What happened was they went back to their camp, and Hezekiah prayed, and God struck 185,000 of their army dead overnight. And they retreated, they left. They found out there was some other battle going on as well. And God said that as part of that. So then it fast forwards in the story that Hezekiah gets very sick. And it's not making sense to him. Why am I getting sick? I am this all-powerful king. And I'm going to plead to the Lord. So he pleads to the Lord, and God says, okay, I'm going to give you 15 more years of life. Well, Hezekiah basically destroys everything that had led up to being a good king in the end. And his attitude is really what just destroys him. And so I want you to listen to this, what he did when he moved on past that high point in being king, is he got well. The king of Babylon hears, oh, he was sick, but he was healed. And so I'm going to congratulate him for this. And so Hezekiah takes all the congratulations on himself, does not say, oh, the Lord healed me and all this, and welcomes this king of Babylon and his people in, shows them all of the things he owns. And then Isaiah comes and says to him, you foolish man. When by the end of your reign, all of this, all of that you own, your sons that you will be part of, you will go into captivity into Babylon because of what you've done. And the response is ridiculous from Hezekiah. He basically says, oh, well, I'll be gone. That's just the way it's going to be. And you kind of leave just going, huh? What's going on here? Why does he have that attitude? We don't know, but it's almost like he hit that peak and then he said, well, that was the pinnacle of what God could do with me. And now I'm just going to rest on all of that, on that legacy, that fame that I have. And It'll just go from there. How often do we see that happen in our culture? Somebody's just famous for a short while and then they disappear. And we wonder what happened to them. If we wonder at all, they just come and go. It happens so frequently that we don't wonder. But for those people that stick it out over and over and over again, there's a secret. Because our human nature is to have us peak and then fall. Because we look at what was accomplished, and when we fail, we look at that height and go, well, I can't get back up there. So I'm just going to be okay with what's going on here. And God doesn't call us to that. He said, I am the God who creates these incredible things that I can do in and through my people. Will you keep trusting in me? And so as I was praying about this and thinking through this, that there's a parallel story in the Bible of another person who's used by God in a mighty way, who has a bit of a setback. His name is Elijah. So I know I've shared this story before, and he confronts the prophets of Baal and defeats them. God defeats them through him. And yet Queen Jezebel is very upset, and she goes, I'm going to kill you. So he retreats because he's panicked, he's fearful. And God finds him and he restores him, and he says, get back to work. Yes, you had a high point, but it doesn't mean just because you experience a little bit of fear, just because you run away, that you're done. God's not done with us. Our highs and lows in our lives come to show God's glory through us when we hit those peaks, but it also shows his glory when we hit those bottom points. If we can seek his forgiveness and say, well, this just showed how human I was, didn't it? and just go through it. I mean, I was at the same point this morning as I got up, and I had done my broadcast last night. I was extremely tired. I had a red-eye flight coming in on Monday morning, and I'm still trying to recover from that. And I started the broadcast, and I realized my broadcast last night, and I realized this morning as I woke up, I forgot to even pray with my guest before we started. And I could be really critical of myself and say, oh, look at how you flubbed up. And yet, the reason I'm so hard on myself is because I had such an amazing experience speaking at this conference I was at last weekend, and I'm comparing it to that. I'm not comparing it to everyday life. I'm not comparing it to how God says he will continue to work in my life. I'm comparing those highs and lows. And I think the more variances we have in our walk with God, when we trust him, he's going to give us those. And thankfully, he works very slowly to give us those peaks and valleys of our own failure and his own grace and working through us in powerful ways. But can we, as I wrote in my notes, can you just get back up and realize you were tired? God understands. You're going to remember next time. And just keep going. And that's what Elijah did when God found him, sent him back to work. He just kept working with the people he was working with, and God continued to use him. Hezekiah, on the other hand, God didn't use him because he wasn't made available. He rested in his remembrance of those peak moments and just said, well, however life falls apart, it's just going to be fine because I had that moment with God, and that's all that matters. So don't just rest in the past. You see so many people whose lives just fall apart because they had such high points. You see Olympic gold medalists, and you see actors that, have some blockbuster movie, and then there's nothing left of them. We can do the same thing in our own lives. We can have these moments where we do something successful, maybe only our family sees it, but yet we can say, that's the person I am. That's what I'm going to say it defines me. But as we move forward, what God says defines us is Him. And in my planning today, it always tells me what's something you're going to remember today. And I wrote that I need to rest in God, Him encapsulating me, and not rest on top of Him, making a soapbox for myself and saying, this is who I am because of how God used me. No, this is who I am. I am a child of God. That's not going to change. And if I rest in God, then He can continue to use me for His kingdom. And I will continue to be effective even in my failures. And so will you. So hope that's an encouragement for you today. Thanks for joining me on Daily Revelations. I will see you again tomorrow, possibly. It's the 4th of July, so I may take a day off. We'll see, but I'll see you soon. Either way, bye.